Hi there, Leo. Welcome to your July 2023 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. I think I could have sworn I got that for your end of the month reading. Well, a couple of things. July is your solar return, and on the same day that the sun goes into, I'm going to pick an additional card. Okay. The same day that the sun goes into Leo, we have the Venus retrograde in your sign. I've done an astrology forecast for Leo that is already up on my channel. Maybe I'll think to link it, but it is there, and I talked about it on that video. And the reason that this is important is that there may be some of these issues coming into your life when you have these kinds of themes, like these themes coming into your life, because actually on the 1st of August, there's going to be a full moon in Aquarius, which is your opposite sign, and that means that it will oppose your sun. So that makes it that much more, I don't know if I'd say important, but pertinent in the month of July that you might be experiencing maybe somebody from your past. Towards the end of the month, you may have some kind of ex-lover coming back into your life. And it's good to know, like, ahead of time, what can I do about it? Because you might kind of weaken if this person really isn't good for you, but you feel this sense of like, oh, wow, then that's something that you need to kind of prepare for. And actually, this is the card that is the theme for July, which is the Nine of Wands, which is kind of that guard at the gates or the need for boundaries. So, depending on where you're at, for some Leo people, it might be that you're not boundaries, but you have walls up, that you're like a little bit too guarded. And so if you're, let's say you are involved in some kind of I was going to say love affair, but I just mean, let's say you're dating someone and they're asking you, like, how come you seem so afraid to let go, afraid to kind of let me in? This could be why, because you have been hurt before and now you're kind of gun shy about the whole thing. Now, in the past position, we have the Tower card, which really speaks, see that lightning bolt, it speaks to something unexpected happening. And how does that affect a person? It makes them very afraid, kind of shaky in the future, because they're like afraid that at any moment all hell will break loose, something will happen. So an example would be that if you had somebody leave you, now you did several years ago have eclipses in your sign and the opposite sign of Aquarius around, I would say, 2016 to 18-ish. And that might have been a time when this was particularly an issue. And as a result, you're kind of walking around watching your back and things like that. Or, I mean, we did just have eclipses, and the one that is the most recent was the one in Scorpio, and that was in your 4th house of home and family. That occurred in early May, but that could have had reverberations throughout the month of May into June and even before the month of May. And that could have shooken some of your domestic side of things. And now you're kind of like guarded. The higher message is the High Priestess, which is about tuning into the higher self, the spiritual side of life. This isn't because, Karl Marx said that religion is the opiate of the masses. And there might be some truth to that sometimes, where people are just trying to feel good about their miserable lives by, believing that they're going to have some kind of great experience after death. But the thing is that we're not talking about kind of that escapism. We're talking about tuning in to something that is more what the truth is. These outer events, they can be very unsettling. If somebody walks out on you, if somebody cheats, for instance, and they leave you for that other person, of course, that would be very upsetting. But, in retrospect, if this has happened to you, if not now, at some past date, you probably realize that it was for the best. You probably realize that there were problems, even if you hadn't made any kind of moves to leave. It's not a good thing to be in a relationship where one or both people are unhappy. And the High Priestess is about downloading spiritual wisdom that can help you to navigate your life. That's what that column, that purplish color is like. That is that higher wisdom. And the reason that this is important is that it helps you to see the bigger picture in life, so that you're not just immersed in these details, which are really, ultimately, they're superficial, because these situations are temporary. Every situation is temporary, ultimately. Like when we say this too shall pass. What crosses you is the Four of Cups. And this is a card of being, we could say unhappy, but it's not necessarily to the nth degree. It can just be unsatisfied. It can be maybe kind of bored, maybe kind of inert, feeling this kind of blah, meh feeling. Now, why is this in the challenge position? What could be challenging about this beyond the not so great feelings? Well, because what it could be saying is that some of you may have tolerated this emotional state of being, and that's not enough to move you to change. And what can happen is it can kind of mushroom, where it just becomes more and more the state of mind of the person, or the state of their emotions. And when we pay attention to how we feel, it makes it much easier to make decisions, because we know when we're on the right track and when we're on the wrong track. What's coming in is a Two of Wands. This is always, with twos, it can be like, which direction do you go in? Well, two may indicate that there are two choices. Maybe there's two people. Perhaps there is somebody who kind of just came on the scene all of a sudden, and someone else that you're currently with that you're not necessarily happy with, but maybe they are a known quantity, and that makes you feel safe, because at least you know the devil that you've got. And the Two of Wands can also be, you see the globe, it can be about relocation. We have the Six of Swords that can also be about that. So if this is anything about choosing between two careers, perhaps I feel like some Leo people, may be really getting into spiritual stuff because you do have Neptune in the eighth house, which can be really out there because the eighth house to me can even be channeling, specifically communicating with those who have crossed over, because the eighth house can be the house of death. I would say like the 12th house would be channeling the Akashic records or past lives. But the eighth house I can see like connecting, like being a medium, in other words. And yet you may have some other kind of work that you're trained for that you're not sure if you should leave. The tower can sometimes be, to me, like a kundalini awakening where something happens that was seemingly out of nowhere, and you don't know exactly what to do about it. Oh, it's another interesting thing too, is that you have Taurus as your midheaven or the cusp of the 10th house of career, and that can be there's influences of Uranus through this house as well as Jupiter. And Jupiter can be influencing a spiritual type of career, and Uranus can be like energy healing. But Uranus can also be something that's kind of oddball, off the beaten path. And it could be something sudden. So if you are in a career that is kind of on its way out, it's becoming obsolete, you have to understand that when Uranus is in your 10th house, there could be a lot of choppy waters or curveballs thrown because the nature of the career is not very solid, perhaps because it's on its way out, but it's not just a clean break. And some people just hang on until the bitter end. So to me, that's what the tower can be, like the sudden situation. Yeah, I feel like there might be a three-party situation for some of you. The outcome is the Three of Swords, and this can be, you're there. Whether you knew what you were getting into or not is a different story. But remember, if you got involved with somebody who forgot to tell you, and I'm saying that in air quotes, that they were involved with somebody else, then that is something that you should definitely pay attention to, because that can be very, that can be a red flag that this is an untrustworthy person. Now, Leo tends to be a loyal sign, so if you were actually involved with somebody who is married, for instance, I think most times you would not know that in advance, because you might be very, I was going to say principled in that regard, and you don't want to do anything. Now, I picked a clarification card. Oh, and also the Three of Swords can be a clean break from someone. So the Nine of Wands can be that you are on the lookout. You're kind of like expecting that this person's going to resurface, and you're ready for them. And you just say, look, especially if there has been a pattern of on again, off again, that you just, like a surgeon, very cleanly cut it off. But I picked an additional card, the Six of Swords, and with the Two of Wands, you may decide to relocate. If this is a situation where you would have the possibility of running into this person, you may be like, I don't want to run into this person. I want to just save my marriage, or I just want to, maybe I want to get separated, but I also want to separate from this affair. I never planned to get into this, and I don't want this in my life. These kinds of things. But anyway, that's what I have for you, Leo. I hope that this resonated. I realized that I was kind of focusing on relationships in this reading because to me that's really what came through. Um, I feel like with the three, if this is like your career, related to your career, the Three of Swords can be yet more of a slap in the face. Maybe you've been feeling this sense of dissatisfaction with a career, but you don't, that inertia is making it harder for you to kind of like seek something else out because it's kind of this pattern. And even though it may be monotonous, at least it is predictable to you, and that makes you feel maybe safe or comfortable in some way. And you may end up deciding that you have to take some kind of make a radical shift in order to kind of shift the energy. And relocating can be one of those ways to do so. So that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.